Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever stood over a wilted, yellowing, or just seemingly dying plant and felt this wave of absolute sheer panic, maybe even whispered a quick apology to it, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to completely transform you from a panicking, guessing gardener into a full-on forensic plant detective. We are focusing entirely on the diagnostic process. It's a systematic, highly effective method that the horticulture pros use to figure out exactly what's going wrong so you can actually fix it. It's the universal question that plagues literally every single plant enthusiast at some point, right? Why is my plant dying? And our first instinct is usually just to panic. We assume the worst, we guess at the cause, and sometimes we even start blindly spraying chemicals or dumping fertilizer into the pot, just crossing our fingers for a miracle. But guessing is never the right first move. Jumping to conclusions without a proper investigation can actually make the whole situation significantly worse. We really need to gather the facts first. So here is our detective briefing. We'll secure the plant crime scene, compare biotic versus abiotic factors, decode symptoms, signs, and suspects, look at the disease triangle, follow the steps to accurate diagnosis, and finally, we'll be reaching a final verdict.
Okay, step 1, the plant crime scene. Let's dive right in.
The very first rule of plant diagnostics is to treat every ailing plant like an active crime scene. You might see browning conifer needles like this and immediately want to blame a bug or a fungus, but noticing that decline is literally just step 1. If you jump to conclusions, you might completely miss the real story. We have to gather contextual clues. Has there been a sudden freeze? Is the soil compacted? We've got to look at the whole picture before we start pointing fingers.
Number 2, biotic versus abiotic factors.
To make sense of the crime scene, plant pathologists divide all suspects into two main camps. First up, we have biotic, or living factors. Think fungi, bacteria, and insects. Because biological organisms have to physically multiply and spread, the damage they cause usually develops pretty slowly. It appears scattered, and it typically targets just one specific plant species. On the flip side, we have abiotic, the non-living stressors. Think drought, frost, chemical drift. That kind of damage tends to hit suddenly, it's uniform across an entire area, and crucially, it often wipes out multiple different plant species all at the exact same time.
Moving right along to number 3, symptoms, signs, and suspects.
Once we get those broad categories down, we have to look at the specific clues left behind at the scene. And in plant forensics, the difference between a symptom and a sign is absolutely huge. A symptom is just the plant's physical response to being stressed, like stunting, leaf distortion, wilting, or yellowing. It tells us the plant is sick, but it doesn't really tell us who did it. A sign, however, is the actual physical evidence of the organism itself, like a molted insect skin. Other signs could be webbing, bacterial ooze, or even insect frass, which is honestly just bug droppings. It's the ultimate physical fingerprint.
Take this visible evidence, for example. Look at that white, fluffy material on the plant stem. That's called mycelia. When you see something like this, you aren't just looking at the plant's reaction anymore. You are staring directly at the organism causing the problem. This specific sign points us straight to a fungal pathogen suspect. It is absolute, undeniable physical evidence.
Which brings us to number 4, the disease triangle. Now, even if a fungal pathogen is hanging around, it doesn't guarantee your plant is going to get sick. Infectious diseases need both motive and opportunity. 3 conditions have to perfectly align. You need a susceptible host, an active pathogen, and a favorable environment, like soggy soil or poor airflow. So why is this so empowering to know? Because if you remove just one of those 3 elements, say you fix the soggy soil or you plant a resistant variety, the disease simply cannot fully develop. You literally have the power to break the triangle.
All right, number 5, steps to accurate diagnosis.
With those core concepts in mind, let's see how a professional actually builds their case step by step. First, host identification. You absolutely must know what plant you're looking at, because some plants just naturally have weird colors that look like diseases. Second, problem description. Third, distribution analysis. Is the damage scattered or uniform? Fourth, temporal progression. Did this happen overnight or over a few weeks? Fifth, evidence collection. Actively hunting for those symptoms and signs. And finally, contextual review. Look at the weather history, the soil conditions, recent chemical sprays. This whole process just systematically eliminates variables. To help out with that evidence collection step, this visual cheat sheet reveals a massive trap. Multiple problems can share the exact same symptoms. Look at chlorosis, which is just yellowing leaves. Sure, it could mean poor nutrition, but it could also mean overwatering or even insect damage. You must let the symptoms lead you to the diagnosis, rather than forcing a diagnosis to fit a handful of symptoms. Be patient, gather the clues, and please, don't just assume every single yellow leaf needs nitrogen fertilizer.
And finally, number 6, reaching a final verdict. Once you've walked through those steps and analyzed everything, you're ready to make your assessment. But here is the absolutely crucial point. Diagnosis must always come before treatment. Why? Because insects and pathogens are total opportunists. They very often attack plants that are already super stressed out by abiotic factors, like bad soil drainage. If you just spray a pesticide to kill the bugs without fixing that compacted soil, you're only treating a secondary problem. Accurate diagnosis ensures you're fixing the actual root cause, which saves you time, money, and prevents totally unnecessary chemical use.
By using this diagnostic process, you're not just guessing anymore. Like our source beautifully puts it, reading the signals of the plant is not merely an observational act, it is a critical scientific dialogue. You know how to look for patterns now, you know the vital difference between signs and symptoms, and you know exactly how to break that disease triangle. I highly challenge you to embrace this new role as a forensic plant investigator. Next time you take a walk and spot a struggling plant, what clues are you going to uncover first?